How's it going, my comics? I'm here today, Christopher Reda, the creator of the Cowboy with Many Hats, Zombie Zero, and Lifeboat. How you doing, Chris?
Good. How you doing, Cody? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Uh, how long you been making comics for?
So I've been making comics for probably about 10 years now. We've had Critical Entertainment for about 7 or 8 years. So yeah, about 10 to 12. I kind of lose track of it after a while.
So, do y'all take submissions, or do y'all just put out like in-house books?
But right now we're just doing in-house books. Mason Mendoza and I are the main two writers. We have a third writer, Michael Smith, uh, that we're bringing on. So he's going to be kind of like our first out of house writer. But he's local. He's been a friend of ours for a long time. So we basically only have three writers. We get a lot of submissions, but we're kind of taking things like a step at a time before we
Yeah.
start like taking other people's submissions. Really, what we tell people is to come up to us at comic conventions and get to know us. And like after I see you like two, three, four times, and I see your work, then it's a little bit easier to establish a relationship.
Yeah, I think that could complicate things really quick. You know, when you start taking a bunch of people's submissions and putting out books.
It's hard, it's just so risky taking on just like a new artist, let alone a new writer, and dealing with their expectations and things like that.
So, out of your three books, which one should people read first?
I think probably, Zombie Zero here. This is kind of my oldest book, but it's a full graphic novel. It's about 250 pages, so kind of gives you a full, complete series and story that's easy to follow. It's kind of set up like a film too, so it's kind of has that like film length.
What's the elevator pitch on Zombie Zero?
Zombie Zero, it's also our kind of our easiest sell. It's about the last zombie at the end of a zombie apocalypse. Okay, so yeah, that's the reaction I usually get when I say it. So a very different take on the zombie genre. Instead of these zombies all chasing humans, it's the reverse. These humans are trying to kill this last zombie. They've gotten the whole like zombie apocalypse under control. They've killed everyone, but there's this last one that this scientist has had captive for years, and he doesn't want to give up his test prize subject. He thinks, hey, what if it comes back? We got to at least have a cure. Maybe through this there's a cure for other diseases. So that's kind of the premise of the book.
That's very original.
Yeah,
I like.
so we follow the main zombie and him trying to figure out who he is, where his family is, what's going on with him, how to deal with these urges to eat.
That's cool. What's Lifeboat about?
Lifeboat here. So this is a short story by Mason Mendoza. This is about a crew at the end of the universe, as the universe is kind of like ending and freezing, and yeah, it just kind of follows them, what it would be like at the end of the universe, feelings, emotions. Um, Mason was a psychology major, so he kind of deals with a lot of that kind of stuff in this book.
Okay. And the Cowboy with Many Hats?
The Cowboy with Many Hats. I don't have a copy on me since we're all sold out of it. It's basically a sheriff. He thinks he's on top of the world, and then he gets framed for murder, and he has to go on the run. And it's really about him learning that life has its ups and downs. Not everything lasts forever.
Yeah, which I got my copy a couple weeks ago, and it was really good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Are you
So
gonna
so
give?
those are two shorts. Very easy to digest. Very easy to kind of like get to know us. Really.
Yeah, I mean, just from the one book, y'all are putting out some really good stuff. Is Lifeboat available through Diamond?
So Lifeboat's available through Diamond. That should be out already. So you can get that at your local comic book store. And if they don't have it, you can always get our books on criticalentertainmentla.com.
Sweet. And I seen you did Zombie Zero in black and white when he was flipping through it.
Yeah, so it's black and white. It plays to kind of the genre. Um, there's a lot of blood in it too, so that kind of minimizes. It's not as much about the violence and the blood and the gore and like horror, right? It's more of an adventure tale that follows the main zombie. So we went with the black and white. It stylizes it more, kind of tones down some of the more bloody scenes that are required in like a zombie genre. Um, and then as a filmmaker slash creator, black and white's always just a cool aesthetic that a lot of creators, especially beginning in their careers, love to do. It's just like an easy way to put a mood onto a story.
And I think it'd probably be cheaper, right?
And then it's cheaper, so that's the tenfold, is it's a little bit cheaper to do and to print.
So, what books are you coming out with later this year?
So the big one is The First Americans. This comes out March 27th through Diamond. And this is about a tribe of Paleo Indians who travel from Siberia to North America for the very first time 14,000 years ago.
All right. Is there gonna be no supernatural elements or anything like that? It's just
So no supernatural elements. It's basically prehistoric.
okay.
Kind of follows what it would be like 14,000 years ago traveling into North America for the very first time. And we're dealing with a time in our history where the ice age is coming to the end. Now the Bering Strait land bridge is open, and that's they basically follow mammoths into North America, and it's kind of like the experience of being in this new country, new land, animals you've never seen before. You got to fight saber-toothed cats and crazy wolves. And this is also the first time in human history where we started domesticating wolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of one of the things that helped us travel into North America. Now you have this like wolf dog that can warn you when something's approaching.
Sweet. You said it's coming out in March?
March 27th.
Okay.
And yeah, we have a lot of buzz for this book, and probably our most pre-orders were through this book so far.
When is it? They can still pre-order it now? It's not cut off yet?
You should be able to pre-order it now. I don't, hopefully it's not too back ordered. Hopefully Diamond got enough copies. But yeah, just add it to your pull list, ask your comic book shop, and if you really can't get it, you'll be able to get it on our website as well.
Congrats on selling out the Cowboy with Many Hats.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a good seller. That the cover really pops out to people, and people just like westerns. One of the strategies for us at comic conventions is we have different genres. So, we have people who go, "Oh, I like this cowboy cover," and then we go, "Here, check out this other stuff." And then we get a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I like zombie stuff. I haven't heard this take on a zombie story." And then you kind of show them the other books too. So we're trying to throw a wide net out.
Have you ever thought about a zombie western?
A zombie western
in space?
In the what, like aliens versus cowboys?
Yeah, right.
Versus zombies.
Yeah.
No, not really. Not really. Haven't done a lot of the mixing genres. We basically, we got a cowboy story. We got a few different sci-fis. Planetary Expansion's kind of our other series. That's, the first one's available. The first one's available, just hit shops. And then the second one should be available early next month. Technically supposed to come out this week, but we're a little delayed. So This is about a colony ship heading to a new Earth-like planet in another solar system, and it follows all the different characters and what it would be like to be on a long and dangerous space journey.
I like it. So when interplanetary travel is like catching an Uber, are you going to do it? Are you going to go to another planet?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd love to go like around the moon. I'm waiting for like the moon trip, when it's not only Jeff Bezos can go or whatever, eventually
Right.
it'll be cool.
Yeah, you pay like $30 and you can take a afternoon to the moon.
I think it's like $500,000 you can get to space right now or something like that. So
Wow.
it'll be more affordable at some point.
Yeah, we should. I'm pretty sure we should um, do an April Fool's joke to get everybody to like say we're going to crowdfund to send this random creator to the moon.
Well, like in this series, they take 1,000 passengers and you deal with like who got selected, why they got selected. There's a wait list, right? Like a bunch of people drop out at the last minute, so you call the wait list people. Um,
Uh,
so you're kind of dealing with sort of those socio, politics on who gets to go, who do you want to take, who's important, who's not important, who just pays, who just overpays to get a spot,
right. Okay.
which celebrities you take.
Yeah. Um, are you doing any signings this year?
Uh, I'm doing signings at WonderCon, San Diego Comic Con, and LA Comic Con this year. I don't have any set for any of the shops, but I'd like to. I did a bunch before COVID, and now that we're after COVID, it's a little hard to get them set up. But
Uh, How is Indie Comics over there in LA?
there's a few shops that are very indie friendly. Um, those are the ones that I frequent. Um, and they carry my books, and I'll give them a bunch more extra bookmarks and stuff like that. So like I know all the comic book shops here in LA. Then there's a few that are just like, oh, you're not Marvel and DC. Oh, you should just not be in the business. I've had that. I've had a few stores who are just like, oh, you should just quit now. Um, I only carry Marvel and DC,
Yeah.
and when Marvel and DC numbers go down, they're the first to fold.
Yeah.
Um, there's some other shops I know that tell me, they carry a lot of indie books and they're doing really well. So I think it comes down to effort on some of the comic retailers. I think it's a little bit too easy to go, hey, or just buy Batman. You know, I don't have to read the back of the book. Cool.
And Indie Comics really stepped up when COVID happened. They filled that void of everything.
Yeah. I mean, everyone was home, and I think the comic industry, people want creative stuff, creative books. The Walking Dead was such a big hit, and it's not, there's no capes or superpowers or things like that. A lot of just psychology and sociology amongst groups, and how humans deal with each other in these types of different situations, and not just like, cool, I fell in a vat of acid and I'm the best.
Yeah, I think with Marvel going on 12, 13 years of their movies, we're getting a lot of superhero fatigue.
We're getting a little burnout, and in the comic industry, it's tough because superhero stuff sells the best, but it's also the hardest to differentiate yourself from, because it's all been done, and now we have this genre of um like The Boys and technically The Watchmen, right? It's kind of like a take on it. um we came up with a story. It's called Minion. It'll come out later this year. I don't have a copy on me, but it's the idea that follows the minions of a supervillain as they fight for control over the city. So you kind of follow them and them getting beat up by the superhero of the city and having to fight cops. And it's like, he has this power. Oh my God. Oh, he froze me. I got to de-thaw in like a bathtub. And
Yeah.
so a lot of the comedy that would come of being a henchman, and they're just kind of like normal guys just trying to get a job. It's like the only job they can get. And they're
We
just
was
like, oh my God.
we was talking about that at work a couple weeks ago of how cheap must the rent be in Gotham for people to still live there with all the crazy stuff that goes on daily, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Like the main minion guy, he'll drive through the city and there'll be all these crazy mansions and wealth everywhere, and then he'll cross the tracks, and then you're just dealing with the crappy Walmarts and like the really low end stores and your crappy apartment and no rent control, and you're just living from paycheck to paycheck, from dollar to dollar.
Yeah. So, dead or alive, who would you like to make a comic book with?
Um, probably like to make a book with Dustin Nguyen. I'm friends with him, but I don't want to be like, hey, let's make a book,
Right.
this second. Um, he's a fantastic artist. I'd love to work with him on something. Like if Marvel and DC ever gives me a call, my pitch is going to be let me team up with him. You know,
Yeah. Did you say if? If Marvel and DC?
if I mean, it was never. It's I'm not a creator who's like my goal is to work at Marvel and DC. I was a big fan of Spider-Man and X-Men and Batman when I was growing up. Those were some of the first comics I read, but I'm much more of I want to make original stories and try to get them made into films. And, you know, I, I'd have to be real selective if Marvel and DC called me.
Yeah. Um, are you planning on making these into films anytime soon?
So Zombie Zero, it's been optioned. We have a screenplay and a director attached. So that's been in the works for a few years now. Um,
Nice.
Yeah, so it's in the development stage, right? That takes forever, but I kind of work with the producer Michael Mendelson. I make some comics for him as well. Um, so technically, we have like a licensed comic from one of his films. Um, so I can work more directly with him, so it doesn't just get completely stuck in the development hell.
Is it gonna get like a wide release, or do you
So
even
he
know
like
yet?
he does like to release films in theaters. It's just the landscape's so different now. He sold a lot of films to like Netflix, like Blackout is one of the films that was on Netflix. That was number one for like a week up
Hmm,
on Netflix. Some he sold some stuff to Amazon too. So
sweet.
so we'll see. I'd like it to be released in theaters, but if it does, it'll probably be a limited release in theaters and then just go straight to streaming. That's just how it is now.
Yeah. There's no more DVD releases.
They have Blu-ray releases too of their films. So
Really?
yeah, the Blu-rays still come out.
Nice.
They
Um,
still come out.
is there anything you want to say before we go?
No, really just find us at WonderCon, San Diego Comic Con, Emerald City Comic Con. If any of our books look interesting to you, let your local comic book retailer know. Um, the more we get into comic book stores, the better. And I really am trying to emphasize building up indie books. You know, I mean, I know Marvel and DC they're the cash cow and they're the low hanging fruit, and it's easy, but there are so many good creators and good books out there that just kind of get left behind, or they'll release and then they'll be just another book on a big library,
Mm,
and you got to keep promoting it. So um, I think this industry is going towards indie books. I think comic book stores that really want to survive the next few years need to embrace not just manga, but and Funko Pops and stuff like that. But they need to be able to sell all these different books and try to be more like a bookstore as opposed to like it's almost like they work for Marvel and DC and they don't get paid for it.
Right. Thank you for taking the time to come talk with me.
Thanks, Cody. Appreciate it.
What? You mean you haven't subscribed to Comicchatauthority? Oh, come on. Subscribe already. What are you waiting for? It's no big deal. Like, man, don't forget to tell him to hit that like button. Yeah, that too. Just subscribe.